Yeah, what's good, y'all? It's your man Jermaine Showtime Stone, aka the Wolf of Wine, aka the Czar of Bobs, aka Young Thanos. Just out here collecting infinity stones. I got the Supreme OG. She a OG, y'all. We got the OG in the building. Tahiirah Habibi from the Hue Society. How are you doing, man?
What's up?
The Hue Society. You kind of on fire right now, son.
According to who?
Yo, according to the streets is you hot in the streets right now. I was hoping I could get you on the show, you know. So this is very long overdue, and that's my fault, y'all. I have robbed y'all of having this woman on the show for such a long time, and she was gracious enough to agree to be on this episode. So I wanted to publicly apologize for the delay in this happening.
Say what?
And two, welcome you to the show.
Listen, thank you. I appreciate being here. Are we gonna talk the backstory, or are you just gonna leave it at the apology?
We're gonna leave it at the apology. Look, man, we're gonna leave it at the apology.
Good. Happy to be here, man. You on fire too. I saw your 40 under 40.
I'm just out here doing what I do. I'm just out here collecting infinity stones,
Listen, that's what we do. That's how it goes.
Exactly. Well, congratulations on not just being on the 40 under 40, but gracing the cover of the 40 under 40. First Black woman to do so. Now, how do you feel? Well, let's back it up. Like, what was your reaction to being selected as one of Wine Enthusiast's top 40 tastemakers?
Well, we found out about that, back in March?
Yeah.
Right? Like, so the world was kind of still calm at the time. Like, this was before the George Floyd thing blew up, and, everybody was on this amplified Black voices wave. So I have to give them credit for that. But it was, I don't know. I was like, oh, all right. And then I just started churning, like, listen. I'm like, all right, I made this list. And, they're like, you can't tell nobody. So I'm like, dang, I can't even, I had to really think all of this through on my own. So, and I'm pretty creative. So it's like, I just started churning, like, well, they gonna put you on the list, you might as well go for the cover. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for the cover. And I went for it. I literally, from the time they told me to like a week after I had thought about it, and I was like, well, they either gonna put you on this cover or they're gonna kick you out. So you're just gonna have to be all right with both of those. And I was like, all right, I'm all right with it. So let's just go. So that was it.
That's crazy, man. And when they told you that it was going to be a virtual shoot, what was your reaction? Like, I was confused. I was like, how?
I was so disappointed and confused, and I was like, what the do you mean this is going to be virtual?
You like, for me this year?
I am owed a flight. I am owed a hair and makeup. Who's going to do my makeup? Who's going to am I responsible for this now? I'm like virtual. I'm like, do I gotta buy things to set something up? It was just like, how am I going to make this work? It was
right.
Complicated.
Yo, I gotta say, shout to Matt. He did his thing on this. Matt was I gotta say, he was the best photographer that I've ever worked with, and we did it virtually. That's just, he shot the stills he shot the promo pics for Black AF on Netflix.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was his. So that was why we look so fly.
I think his work is really good. It's amazing. Honestly, I was looking through when they told us who the photographer was. And so I was really impressed it was a Black photographer. And again, these things, I don't know. I think they announced a photographer after the blow up. So I don't know if that was a part of from the beginning, but I thought that was cool. And he was super patient with me because I had to shoot twice. and I was pissed.
Yo, but they shot a cover on Zoom. Like, that's real. And the cover looked great. Like, so what was your mindset in putting together the concept for the shoot? Because I know like they kind of told all of us like, yo, just do something that speaks to your personality and your brand. How did you approach that?
Well, I'm all about freedom and liberation. And for me, I really wanted to take back the Statue of Liberty. So everything I did, I had to have this mindset of just blackness, just like Black excellence. And so the dress that I wore was from a Black designer. The earrings they were actually my earrings, but still Black owned. They're from my shop. I have a boutique, a jewelry boutique. Even the glass, the wine in the glass was Black owned. Like everything to me, I just needed to be in that moment and just like show just how beautiful Blackness is in this space. So I was very intentional about every single detail. I scouted out to find a space that would look, kind of like Stonish, like that whole thing. I did all of that. So I was so serious about it. I told you I was going for the cover. I was like, well, what's the point of being in the thing if you're not going to like do it? Yeah. I didn't even know at the time that they hadn't had a Black woman on the cover before. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, but this was after the shoot. And I was like, I wonder. But yeah, for me, it was just so important to just represent that. And even if they did put me in a centerfold, which I didn't really give them a choice, right? Like that's not something you put in the middle. It was like, you're going to do this. Just
like,
go
let me
for
go
it.
big.
Yeah, right.
Dope. Nah, I like the approach. Wait, we gotta introduce the wine and hip hop community to you on in the way that they know how to meet people. So let's introduce them to your rap spirit animal. Now, if you could pick a rapper that embodied your spirit, what rapper would that be?
Oh, it would probably definitely be Jay-Z. Just all around businessman, bringing up the community, getting shit done, just not giving up, being in that room and making sure you're leaving the door open or you helping people out. Sometimes without even saying anything, like, but I also come from the hood, like inner city, and
streets.
Streets
with a C. Trenches.
That's right. No, seriously, like the trenches. My mom was on drugs too growing up, just like his dad, like it was just a lot of things that I could relate to through him. And I think a lot of us can just listening to him, but he's just always been very inspiring to me. And the way that his music is, obviously it's art, but it's the truth in a lot of ways of, just giving you kind of like a blueprint of what, like a blueprint of kind of like, how to navigate some things. And so, yeah, I would definitely say that, I'm the Beyonce of wine. So,
I mean, based on that cover, that's what it's looking like. That's what it's looking like.
But listen, the dress, I don't know if it's like 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, the first time Beyonce wore like this African print pantsuit.
Yeah.
The same designer did my dress.
She was giving me Beyonce vibes on that cover. I gotta say, I was catching some Beyonce vibes, so I felt that. I could definitely see that. So, but Jay-Z, I can see that a lot. Now, I know that I read actually in the 40 Under 40 that one of Jay-Z's lyrics inspired the name of your company, the Hue Society. Mm-hmm. So like, and that's just on like, it's clear that these lyrics touch you on a deep level. What did hip hop mean to you growing up? It was an escape, which I think it was for a lot of us, but
I don't really listen to like raunchy hip hop, like, oh, B's this, B's that. Like, I listen to Luke because who doesn't listen to Luke?
Right.
But he's not actually trying to say anything. Um, but I'm inspired by hip hop artists who tell their story through their art in a way that is trying to get you to the next level without judgment, right? And so Jay-Z is very good about that. Nipsey Hussle was very good about that. Like Tupac was very good about that. Biggie, was good about that. Like those kind of like storytelling things like, look, I did this. Telling you that is not necessarily cool anymore. I know where you are. I see where you're at. I know your frame of mind, but this is where we're trying to get to. And this is how you kind of get there. And, just giving you tools through their lyrics. Like, how many people started using Sage because of Nipsey? Right. Or like Jay-Z, just telling you how to like do finances and just different stuff like that. Supporting Black businesses, like that whole thing, you kind of grow up in this era where that's just what you hear is your motivation. Like I went for a run today and I was listening to Big Sean, like his whole album, the new one, is just fire. Like
so balanced, like
incredible.
He just preaching like that's the thing about hip hop though. I feel like it's so influential.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of another genre that is as influential as hip hop. And I think that's where its power is,
Yeah. It's so influential. Like it's such an incredible form of art. Like if you like listen to things and it's layered, right? And so you go back and you listen to it again. And then it means different things at different points in your life, right? So when you're growing up, it's just like beats. These beats is hard. Like let's go hard, yo. But then, older, you start really listening to the lyrics, like, yo, he's really saying something. And then as you get older and they get older, they evolve with you, right? And so now we're on this mental health thing. And so that's why I'm so impressed with Big Sean, because that's literally like what he's going at. It's just like mental health, like getting it together, meditating, like the whole thing, the whole nine, as far as keeping yourself together and where we need to be as a people. We kind of skip that part sometimes. It was kind of like a taboo thing, but now he's bringing it mainstream. He's not the first one, but he's definitely like driving it home at this point.
Right. So we talked a little bit. We skimmed over the Hue Society. We didn't give it the proper introduction that it needed. So can you tell the Wine and Hip Hop crew a little bit about the Hue Society, why you started it, and what you guys are doing now?
So Hue, like you said, the idea of the name came from a Jay-Z lyric from a 444. And he was like, was better than one billionaire too, especially if they're the same hue as you. And it just hit me like, because that's the frame of mind that I was in. It was all about economics and trying to empower people, on a branding side, as far as like Black brands, bringing awareness of that they exist and, that you should support them. And also from a consumer side, just being mindful of what you put your money into and who you are giving your money to, particularly in this wine space, because if you look around, they generally have not given a fuck about you over the last how many years, right? So Hue is really about the platform itself on Instagram was really about visuals. I needed to show people what we look like through our own experiences, enjoying, learning, connecting with wine. And it's not a Black hand. It's not, Moscato only. It's not the beginning of our journey. Like that's the beginning of our journey, as it's the beginning of a lot of people's journey, but they kind of like try to pigeonhole us in that space. I needed us to see us in the wine space, because if we're being 100% honest, we're talking about a couple billion dollars in this industry that we just are not tapping into at all. So, but we're consumers of it. Right. So when I was putting the concept together for the society, it was piggybacking off of a company that I had prior to that. It was called Sipping Socials. And with Sipping Socials, I really focused on creating wine events and education through the Black experience. So, I did a festival, it's called the Wine and Reggae Festival. And, you know,
Shout out to my reggae massive.
And so I was in Miami at the time because that's where I did the majority of my wine career as a som. And I was just tired of working in luxury and tired of not seeing my people, you know, elevate. So I stopped working. I started working for myself, and I really started focusing on educating us, you know, in this space. And so Sipping Socials evolved into Hue Society because I really wanted an umbrella where we could all meet and discuss and find each other and, you know, celebrate with each other and just be a community. I really wanted to create a community. So Hue Society evolved out of that, and with the name, you know, with the economic part of it. And then, you know, and obviously hue is an easy thing because, you know, we're all different colors and shades, different colors and shades. You know, it's just a lot of places.
Little double entendre. Okay, Hove. Okay, young Hovito. I see you.
And so I finally gotten it to the point where, okay, we know. We're here. This is what we're doing. This is, you know, we're celebrating each other. And now I can go back to my original idea was to open chapters so that we can do this from the ground up, right? Because when I was coming up, it wasn't that many years ago. I was really about to say years and years ago. Like, come on, sis.
It's been a minute. It's been a journey.
Yes. But I studied by myself. I didn't have a community of people who look like me. And I just think like how much further people can get when they have a community of support. Like with the chapters, you can form study groups, you can form tasting groups, you can do events together. It's kind of like being in a chapter of a sorority or fraternity. Like that's how we're structuring the chapters. So the first
really quickly, because I'm not familiar with the way that breaks down. Walk me through like a day-to-day for someone that would be a part of this chapter, the New York chapter.
It's going to be called the John June Lewis chapter. John June Lewis was the first Black person to own a winery in this country. So all the chapters will have some sort of significant name that way. It's opening in New York. And so as a member of this chapter, you will have like-minded people who, you know, you're surrounded by. I formed an organization, it's called CORE, right? And so it's called a Council of Resources. So I pulled together all of my top tier friends in the industry who are full of resources, and it's a multicultural council. And each chapter will have a mentor from that council. So this first chapter, it will actually be mentored by Dustin Wilson.
Wow, that's awesome.
Just being able to have access to someone like that who can get you things, you know, we'll be providing tastings for free once a month, which includes the wine. We have created partnerships where you get discounts at different retails and restaurants, not even only around New York City, but, you know, around the country. Just all kinds of stuff. Like, it's just about access and resources in the same space. But more importantly, you know, it's that community and that camaraderie. Like, when we do get off punishment and off of COVID and we can go back outside, you know, when we have our events, the way that we're structuring events is like, yeah, we're going to have like the tasting. And in the front, if you're really like into the wine at that time, because you're not always into every wine. Let's be honest about that too. You're not always into every wine and every tasting.
I'm not a big Cabernet guy at all.
Right. But if you happen to be in that wine and, you know, you want to talk to a person who's producing or pouring or the winemaker or whatever, then you can be in the front doing that. In the back, you can be in the back twerking with your glass, you know, until the wine that you want, it comes up. Like, that's how we're structuring it. Like, just be yourself and learn through the way that you learn. You don't have to, there's no assimilation, there's no, you know, code switching. The chapters are structured in a way that every founder has to be Black. So the founding members of every chapter as it opens will be Black. That's the first round of applications. And then we will open the chapter back up for anybody, because it's never been about excluding people. It's about censoring Blackness in this space that just has not accepted us. And so with that, to protect that, the founders do need to be Black. Everybody else can come, After, as long as you understand that you're coming into our space and you need to adjust to us, and we do not need to adjust to you or whatever else is going on in the outside world. That's how the chapters are working and running. And so you can throw events as a chapter. Like if you want to throw a tasting, because obviously you're going to have a bunch of professionals, but they're also community members. If you want to throw an event, all those funds stay with your chapter. So you can continue to build and do whatever you want. Like I'm not running the chapters. The chapters will have presidents and, vice president and, whatever they decide to call themselves. The autonomy is all, up to them. But I really wanted to make sure that whatever you wanted to get out of it, you had to go and get out of it, but it was available for you to do so. So if it's you just want to get a working wine knowledge and just sip wine, cool. If you want to actually elevate and continue to grow your career, you have access to that too. Cool, And right. So it's really like an all-encompassing kind of community thing, and you're gonna get what it is that you take, what you need from it. And that's that's the premise of it. It's like the resources and access, which was never there, but now they are.
Yeah, and seeing and growing with people that look like you, that's a big deal. And men and women can join, right?
Yeah, men and women. Yeah, right. It's
and you're going to be launching
a level of knowledge either. It's not just for professionals. Like we get a lot of business women, right? I'm sure you probably encounter this, that, want to learn about wine, or they want to get a working wine knowledge because they don't want to pass off that list because they're effectively passing off their power, right, being in that position and not knowing how to order wine. So, it's open to that too. It's open to anybody who wants to learn and grow. And like I said, you take what you need from it. So if you are studying for your exam, you get a group of people together in your chapter. You say, I'm studying for exam. Do you want to study with me? Blah, blah. But you have access to do that, right?
Right.
You've never had that before.
Right.
So I just think that it's super dope. I think it's really going to revolutionize like this entire wine space. You say you want diversity.
There you go.
Well, you're hiring. So after people that you can choose from.
Right, right. Nah, that is dope. That is dope. And just hearing you break it down like that, it's crazy to see how far your vision has come. Like this is here now. How does that feel for you to, be standing at the foot of a huge mountain? How does that feel for you?
It just feels like the next thing. Like I feel like I'm always at the foot of a huge mountain because I've like literally fought my way up through this. I didn't go through traditional paths and all of that stuff like to become this successful. And so I feel like I'm always just kind of just like hooking up like, all right.
Like, damn, I just climbed that whole one right there now. Okay, no problem.
It's just, it's purpose. And once I understood what my purpose was, I lean into it every day. And it's funny because Dustin's always like, you need to lean into this celebrity stuff. I'm like, I'm not a damn celebrity, bro. That's you. He's like, lean into it.
Yo, I ain't like no cap, man. Like, honestly, I'm weird with attention, especially a lot of the attention that came after this. I know, right? It doesn't seem that way.
It's so weird.
But it's weird. So I totally get that. But he's right. You do got to lean into it.
And so do you.
Oh, yo, listen, I'm falling. Believe me, yo. I'm falling like a motherfucker right now.
Did you feel like you got a lot of opportunities after that dropped?
You know what's funny? Opportunities were lining up like right before. So as soon as that hit, it was like a boom. A bunch of things came after that. Well, like one or two things came after that. But they were stuff's been lining up for a little while. So it's just, I feel like a blessing at the right time, but you also you've had an interesting path in the wine. And I feel like you have a story that lots of people can relate to, especially mentioning you didn't grow up with wine around you. It wasn't a part of your circle. Like, how did you make that? What was that transition like for you mentally when you were elevating from a more urban setting to being at these tables, at these wine tastings and Sommelier in Miami?
It was, I had to give myself a lot of pep talks, because when I moved to Miami after I had, gone to wine school in Philadelphia, it's not very accepting, right? So like, especially when I started, it wasn't accepting for women, and it damn sure wasn't accepting for Black women. And I moved to Miami, I have tattoos, I had a mohawk. I was not like your typical wine person. So they really used to look at me like, who the fuck are you? And where's your uniform, kind of thing. And I used to be like, no, yeah, this wine is delicious, right? Or I'm sure everybody who's Black at some point has had to elbow their way into a table to get somebody to pour for them, or, the microaggressions and all of that stuff. It's just a lot of pep talks. It's like, you earned this, you deserve this, you deserve to be here. Like, you have to just keep reminding yourself of that, especially, you go back to like the hood talks, like, girl, you made it out the hood. Like, do you think these people gonna break you? Like, you survive bullets on a regular basis, like bullets as alarm clocks. And, you're gonna get here, let these people break you? You're gonna let these people who don't know anything about you or what you've done, or, what you've survived, to break you? I just give myself those kind of pep talks all the time. Like, you the shit, girl. Don't even worry about them. Look at his suit. Like, don't even.
He ain't even fitted right. Your funeral director suit. Get out of here, man.
His suit is baggy.
Off the rack ass.
What are you talking about? Like, you don't get yourself out here, sir. Your teeth are like brown right now. Like, no, absolutely not.
Oh man. And so all of this led up to you also having a very viral video that it made some waves. So can you tell us a little bit about what lit that fire that day? Like, what happened?
The day of the video, or the day that it happened?
The day of the video. Like, what said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going on live right now. And I asked Shakira the same thing. It's funny because y'all went off around the same time. And so me and her did her podcast that day, and she went off that night.
Did she?
I was like, yo, what the fuck? It was just so.
No, that's funny. No, man, like I hadn't even really mentioned that whole thing. So basically, long story short, 9 years ago.
Time for the long story. It's a podcast.
when I went to take my test, when I was coming up through the wine scene, you get kind of indoctrinated into this system. It's like, you have to go through CMS, which is the Court of Masters, in order for you to be successful. Otherwise, you're fake, you're phony, you don't really count. Like, that was literally like the messaging that they consistently give you at that time. So even though I had went through wine school, I knew my stuff, I studied all the time, I was like, all right, well, it's time to start taking these tests, because I got to be legit. And I really had in my head kind of the same thing that I have now. Like, there was no Black woman who had ever been, and still to this day isn't, a master sommelier, right? So I was like, well, F it, I'll be the first one. Same thing like with the cover, right? You're just like, if you want to do it, you might as well just go, like, shoot for the stars. And so I was like, I'm going to do it. And I was so serious about that. But for me, it was more like, I needed to show people that somebody from the hood could be successful. I needed to show people that Black women could be at the top. I needed to show people, like, I need to show my community that we can get out of this space and we don't have to be here. And this is another path. Like, I know what they tell us we can be, but look what I discovered. And look what you can actually be. Like, you don't have to be that. And even if it didn't open up something to click in you to say, oh, I can go into wine. For me, it was like something clicking you and be like, even if it's not wine, it just makes you start thinking about other things that you could do, even if it wasn't wine. It's like, oh, I didn't know about wine, but what else don't I know about? Maybe I can go into that. Right. So I was so serious about this Master Somm thing, man. I'm telling you, anybody who knew me back then.
I remember we talked about it at the Wine on Wheels joint. We talked about it.
Yeah,
You talked about it a few times, as a matter of fact.
And so I went to take this test, and basically they had this rule, and apparently it's not a rule for everybody, depending on who tells the story of the instructions. But in this particular case, in this test, the rule was you had to address them as master in order to speak or ask a question or anything. And I was like, fuck that. Not gonna happen. I literally was like, I'll give all this shit up. I'll flip all this shit. Like,
it was that day that you went off, or like?
No, this is why I went off though.
Okay.
And so from that point on, I never dealt with CMS again. I was done. Like, I let that dream go. It died that day. Okay. But I was like, all right, well, you're still gonna be successful, so figure this shit out. So I figured it out. I ended up opening the St. Regis. And, I had a very successful wine career. I was in magazines with other master somms, like all kinds of stuff, right? But this day, I started getting like 2 days before, maybe 3 days before, I started getting text messages like, oh my God, congratulations. I'm so happy that, CMS, you're working with CMS. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just like people writing on Facebook walls, like just all kinds of stuff. Like I just kept getting, and I'm just like, dude, I'm not doing this. And all of that time, I held that CMS story in because I believe that people's paths are their paths, right? I also didn't feel like I had the power to go up against them because, at the time, they were like the biggest wine organization. So I was just like, fuck this. I'm just going to like put this in the back of my head and just keep it moving. But when they start fucking with my community, I was like, okay, now we got a problem. Because people felt comfortable. This was after the George Floyd thing. Everybody's waiting on this nut-ass industry to actually make a statement and mean something. And you just put out this fluky statement with my name attached to it, and it gave people comfort. And that is when I kind of went off, because I was like, this is a hard no for me. Like, I'm one thing. I'm not saying that I'm less than that, but I was just kind of like, I thought that I already like dealt with that. Like I became successful, so I was fine. I didn't need to deal with them. But now you're attaching my name to some BS that you've never spoken to me about, and you're giving people false comfort because, they've been waiting for you to say something, and they're comforted because they think that you're working with me, and that's not the truth. So yeah. I had to let it be known, like, no, I am not working with them. And also, again, like, I'm a very spiritual person, and I don't believe that things happen for no reason, because out of all the organizations in the world that they could have attached themselves,
randomly picked.
Pick me, and you plop this in my lap. And then, and I was already kind of infuriated by the stuff that was going on in the world. I was infuriated by the silence of the industry. I was infuriated by them and that nut-ass statement, even if they hadn't put my, name next to it. I was infuriated by a lot of people in their statements, and, just like they're playing it safe, so soft stances. It was pissing me off. And so I was just like, you know what? It's time to start dismantling the systems just one by one. So but I had already been doing it, like, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I was all the time, like, so you make money off Black people. What you doing about Black? So I had
Wow.
behind the scenes. But this wasn't something I could handle behind the scenes. So I was like, you know what? I hope that this sends a message. Let's dismantle this. Let's get this done. Because if they're at the top, then hopefully everybody else will kind of fall in line. And that's kind of what happened. Like, some changes were made with them. Lots of changes actually being made with them.
Yeah, no, that was a big deal. Like when I saw Jancis Robinson tweeting about it, I was like, let me find out, yo. That's real.
But, I was in a place where, and I am in a place where, I'm good. Like, it's not much that anybody could do to me that I don't owe anybody anything. Nobody owns me. You can't be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And, all of a sudden I'm just going to implode. Like, no, I'm good because I built myself. Nobody designed like you. So, I didn't feel like I needed to be quiet anymore. I didn't feel like I felt like now was the time to, you know, kind of start dismantling the shit before somebody else goes through it. You know what I mean? Like, all of these systems, all of them got to go. And it wasn't just about CMS. Like I said, like that was a message. It wasn't just CMS. It's all y'all motherfuckers, like, pull it together, because I don't got no problem. None.
Gathering people up. Yo, so, but great things came out of that, you know. I feel like, you know, definitely you and Shakira, just kind of putting it all out there. Like, one, you know, applauding the bravery and just putting it out there. I think that real change happened, and you are also making real change with the Roots Fund. Now, was that a direct relation to that video, or was that something?
Sort of. So obviously the video was like buzzing, right? And so Carlton, who is a Black master som, you know, he's involved with the organization. He puts out this post after some master soms quit. He makes this post, and, you know, I just wasn't feeling that shit. So I called him on it, like, yo, what the fuck is this, dude? He's like, yo, let's get on the phone. Cause I was like, I saw it and I commented, like, I would love to talk to you about this, because I would love to know, like, what the fuck are you talking about right now? And basically the post was like, oh, I'm so glad that people have the luxury of walking away and blah, 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 like CMS and like all of this stuff, right? And I was like, and everybody, like the Black community was just kind of like,
yeah.
And I was like, Carlton, to talk, because what you're doing. And so we talked, and I helped him understand, like, I understood what he was saying after we talked, though, which wasn't portrayed in what he wrote.
Which is how it always happens.
Basically, like, right. It was basically like saying that white people in that organization have the luxury of walking away because they don't have a responsibility to anybody else. He can't walk away because he has to continue to pave the way and hold the door open for the rest of us to get through. So I understood him in that moment, and I said, but do you understand how hurtful that was to make that, you know, put this out the way you did after all of this is going on, and not even acknowledge the things that CMS has done and the trash that they have done. Right. And he was like, no, you're right. And so that's why he went back the next day and made another post. But from that conversation, Roots was born, because Carlton and I are both had very similar experiences, you know, just in life. Like, you know, he's from the hood, I'm from the hood. You know, we both by chance got into the wine industry. It wasn't something that we sought out. We both ended up being successful, but we took completely different paths. You know, we were both raised by our grandmothers. Like, obviously, Carlton and I are like night and day. I'm very the fuck, and he's just.
I like your description of yourself.
So, but we both have the same passion for our people, and, you know, going forward. So that's where Roots was born from, because we felt like we needed to create something that was really creating access into this space and financing it, not just like a scholarship here, a scholarship there for this particular program. We wanted to create something that was like, listen, CMS has a purpose, and it's for a specific path, a specific career path. So does WSET, you know, all the rest of these things. Or if you don't want to take tests, you know, here's some money so that you can go study abroad. Or, you know, what is it that you want to do? Like, let's stop dictating people's paths and their journey. What do you want to do? Because it's very limited in the messaging that we get. It's like, oh, you can either be a som or you can be a winemaker. Like, even, you know, the auctioning thing that you do. Right. I told you, I was like, yo, you gotta teach me that. Like, that's not offered, right? Somebody tapped you to do that. People don't know that the wine industry, again, it's billions of dollars, but on top of that, it's more than just being a som or a winemaker. Like, right, yeah, so many other things.
The wine industry is full of hustlers, yo. I say that all the time. Like, there are millions, not millions, but there are thousands of lanes.
It is, and every single one of them is open. And we will pay for every single one of them for you to get through whichever one you decide to go through. You know, we decided we're doing internships, we're doing job placement, we do whatever it is that you want to do. You know, if you have a niche. I did a talk with Cornell a couple weeks ago. I was about to say the other day, a couple weeks ago, and this beautiful little Black girl. Of course, she's the only one there, so she was completely isolated, but she kind of studies the chemistry of it, right? And so she has no idea what to do with that. She just knows that she knows the chemical compounds and all the rest of that stuff. So I'm like, so then why don't you do a tasting, putting, actually using the compounds? Like, you have a niche. Let's figure out how to create chemical compounds. There's a book that was written about it. And do tastings from that perspective instead of the general just smell, whatever. Break down the compounds, show people like the chemistry of it. There's more geeky people in this industry, and Black people, can be very geeky, as well. Like, it's very interesting if you're in it for that reason. If you're in it for a social reason, then you're in it for a social reason. But my point is that we just are not exposed to enough things in this industry, and we're not exposed to enough financing to get to those places. Like, a lot of these Black brands, are bootstrapping, which causes things to be overpriced sometimes, or, like that. But that's all the system, right? It's all the racist system that we kind of get embedded into. And so you want diversity, you want inclusion, you want equity. Well, here you go. We're going to start it from the bottom. You have no reason to say you did not know. You didn't know where to find people. You didn't, this is a specific thing. You have no reason. Literally, there's no excuse. Between Hue Society chapters and the Roots Fund, you have no excuse to say you couldn't hire a Black person for a job. Zero. None.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, man, the wine industry seems to be getting browner and browner, and it's not even like these are from like new hires. Like, this is from all these people popping their head up, like, yo, I was here too. Like, yo, I was here too. Like, oh shit, you was here? Like, for real?
Right. This whole time, you've been taught to keep your head down and do the work. Keep your head down and do the work. Man, I'm like, what's going on over there? Like,
now, once you hear that, that's how you know somebody from the hood is in there. Like,
exactly.
Oh, man.
You find your people. You find your people.
Well, it sounds like you're doing some dope stuff, man. Like, how can people have access to it? Because I think that one of the most difficult hurdles that a lot of not-for-profits face is finding qualified candidates. And I've always felt that the difficulty in finding qualified candidates has been the message and not really being able to reach and speak to the people that they want to speak to. You are that person. So you're a very different case than the way a lot of not-for-profits have worked in the past. How do you plan to get the message out?
We've been really working hard on making sure that everybody understands like that we're doing the work, and all you have to do is apply for it, right? So we keep saying like, applications are open, here you go. And, we just open mentor applications. Like, the whole thing is just making sure that other people are spreading the word, right? So social currencies is a big thing in our community. It's like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, actually it is cool. And I also think that people kind of just fall back a little bit, like, I don't know if that applies to me, or I don't know, like, if
people assume they're not good enough.
Right. And so I've always tried to make sure that messaging was dismantled as well. Like, promote long nails with, champagne flutes. Yes, you're good enough. We're fine exactly the way we are. And if I'm running it, you should know you good. Like, just come on. All you need to do is just, apply or, show some interest. I placed 2 people already. One guy moved from New York to Napa.
Wow.
He's doing amazing right now. He's working harvest at one of the top wineries in Napa.
Wow.
He said dollar vow.
That's crazy.
He's being paid. Like, all you have to do is open your mouth though. And we have to also, not be so afraid, particularly with people who look like us, to say, yo, I need some help. Can you help me? And now I'm always like, yeah, give me a second. Let me figure out how I can get this done. Because if I can't do it, I created a council that can. And, if you're in a chapter, then you automatically know you have access to those resources because Roots and Hue Society work in tandem. So if you're going to a chapter and you need funds, it's an easy pass to the Roots Fund and say, hey, we need to sponsor to give a scholarship for this, or whatever. So get involved in the community, really. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have to compete with each other. It doesn't have to be this. There's only one room. The only Negro in the room syndrome drives me effing crazy, yo.
Yo, it's the worst. It's
God.
the worst.
It drives me
when the hate comes from it, it's like it turns your stomach, man, because you don't even. Well, you know how much. I tell you.
Yeah, it drives me crazy, but I'm not I don't have that syndrome. I don't promote that syndrome. I actually, it bothers me a lot. And nothing that I would affiliate myself with promotes that. I don't like that. So, if we're talking about community, then community, I don't have to like you to help you. I feel plenty of people I don't particularly care for. So, that's not, me helping you has nothing to do with who you are as a person, unless you're just trash. I mean, if you're a trash human, you're a trash human. There's no getting around that, right? But if I don't particularly like, or I know you was talking shit, or whatever, I don't care. Here you go. You need some help, because that's what it's about. Like, we have to build a community. We're never going to get our freedom until we build our community back up. Until we build up these economics, that is the only way into this. That's the only way out of this. Only way, economics. Until we do that. That's just that. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that you're good. Like, that's just that. Like, we need to be successful. There's no reason for us not to be. And so you have a ton of resources that are sitting in front of you. Go for it. You have to also, again, going back to the mental state, you have to come out of the imposter syndrome. You have to come out of, all of this messaging that they send us that we're not good enough, the estimate that they have shrinked us into. You got to be the one to step out of that. I've given you examples. You've given them examples. Like, people have given examples of how you can do it. You just have to be willing to do it, and take that lead. But the best thing about this whole thing in 2020 is that you have a community of people that will catch you at this point. We didn't have that when we were coming up.
That's a fact.
So, if that doesn't lessen your fear, I don't know. I mean.
Yeah, nah, you know what? Some people need you to go grab them, put the arm around them and bring them in. Like, seriously, there's so many, now there's never been this ocean of opportunity. Like, I wish.
Right.
So, shout out to everybody that's like putting the work in and creating foundations that are helping to bring more of us into the industry, and not just more of us into the industry, just bring more of us, make more of us wine lovers. I think that's what you're doing. And shit, man, that's what we all trying to do, build up the community, offer some culture. And wine is like a window. Wine creates so much access,
opportunity, man,
and opportunity to like, some of the shit that came my way ain't even like wine stuff. Just because of being able to meet people, make connections. Like, wine is a vehicle that'll get you anywhere you want to go.
It is. And it could be a Trojan horse.
Facts.
It's literally like the biggest Trojan horse in the room. Because here's the thing, though. It's such a bonding thing. Like, if the CEO likes Pinot Noir, even if you don't like that shit, you grab a glass of Pinot Noir, you go snuggle up next to his ass. Like, but it'll get you in there, right? Like, people who love the same wine, they're very more willing to drop their boundaries with you than trying to come in and it's like.
No, that's why I call it the social equalizer. Well, not me. One of my peoples, he called it that, and like it's just true, man. Wine, I mean, it gets you drunk too. You know what I'm saying? So that helps to let that curtain down a little bit.
Yeah.
You get nice and saucy. You
Yeah,
feel
for sure.
yourself.
I mean, inhibitions drop or lowered.
Exactly.
But it also, in order to close that deal, you got to be able to say Merlot and not Merlot, my nigga. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But
Nah,
yeah.
it's wine and hip hop, bro. Don't worry. We good.
Serious, that shit drives me crazy. You got people,
Yo.
like, you have to put the work into the education too. It's not something that is just going to be handled to you either. Like, all of these things are sitting in front of you, leading you to the lake. Guess who has to fish? Teaching you how to fish, giving you resources to fish. Fish in lake. Signs.
Fishing rods, bait. Right.
Here's an instruction video on how to, like the whole thing. But you got to do it. Like, you have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone and learn something else. And like, I don't care what kind of wine you drink at home, knock yourself out. But you need a repertoire, right? Like, you need to be able to kick out. If you want to sit and drink Moscato or sweet wine or whatever with your girlfriends because that's your preference, knock yourself out. Seriously, drink whatever the F you want. But when you need to be able to seal that deal, you need to be able to spit some stuff that is going to impress, or that people will be able to recognize as you as a at least knowledgeable person in the industry. And the bar is so low for Black people that literally just being able to say Merlot properly is like, it's ridiculous. But it's just little things like that, just little nuances that we just need to learn. That's why I always say, like, Black people absolutely need a working wine knowledge, a working knowledge of wine, like 100%. And that's why I structured the communities that way, the chapters that way, because you can pop in and out as you need to. You don't have to be studying to be a MS, but you do need a working wine knowledge, especially if you're in the business, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're, in a CEO, or, whatever else. If you're going to these lunches, like, unfortunately, gatekeeping is a real thing.
Yeah.
You got to get through that gate somehow.
You need some keys.
It's a tool. You need to learn how to use it as a tool. That's just that. Like, be smart about it, and then go home and guzzle whatever the heck you want. But you know
what? That was me in the first half of my career. No lie. Like, I didn't give a shit about wine, but like, it was as I got older and really started to understand pairing wine and food. Like, that's what turned it. And then after that, you just go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, once your palate develops, that's it. You can't really turn back after that. It's like,
yeah.
It's not really it doesn't taste the same.
It's crazy, right?
Your palate, this is one day you're going to pick it up like,
yeah.
Disgusting. I can't believe I used to drink this.
I know, yo. Nah, it's bad. What's the worst thing that you used to drink?
Freaking Menage a Trois, man. Ridiculous.
Oh man, it's all good. That's gonna be a question that I ask everybody. I'll tell you most embarrassing thing. Like, I'll tell you two things. Like, I used to drink a lot of Smirnoff Ice. That was my shit. And Bacardi Limon.
I hate Bacardi Limon since college.
So don't feel bad. You know what I mean? Don't feel bad.
I thought you meant like wine-wise. Like, that was probably wine. Oh, vodka?
Just overall, anything.
Natty Ice. I went to Penn State.
Okay.
Natty Ice is a beer. So my first year in college was spent with a lot of white people in the soccer team, in frat houses drinking beer. Yeah. I had a very well-rounded college experience, for sure. Definitely did come in and jump right straight into, like, Penn State's pretty big and spread out. I've always been with my people, but that first year, my housing was over in like the white section, which was the nicer housing, conveniently. And so there was just, there were friends in my building. They were on the soccer team. I was friends with the entire women's soccer team. And they were champions. I didn't know nothing about soccer. I'm like, what? I used to go to party with them and, drink and it was just, that's how, Natty Ice.
Don't feel bad, man. Look,
What did
Keep
Andre
going.
was a 40, a Coke 40, no, a 40/40, right?
Oh
OE.
yeah, OE. I mean, shit,
Yeah.
man. OE was a rite of passage though, as a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you ain't drink a 40 in your life, or at least attempt it, I don't know what to tell you. Well,
Yeah.
we talked about people getting in touch with the Hue Society and the Roots Fund. How can we get involved? How do they find you? How do they find the organizations?
Well, Hue Society is on IG at the Hue Society. There's also the website, DM if you know you really want to reach me. Same with the Roots Fund. It's therootsfund.org. All the chapter information will be on Hue Society site, but look out for all of that stuff on Instagram. Instagram is probably like my main form of communication. I don't really do newsletters and stuff yet. Well, I ain't got time. Some people. So at some point, I'll hire somebody to do that. But that's my main form of communication is through Instagram. So that's probably the easiest way to connect or to get with me. And if you want to donate, if you find it in your heart to sponsor somebody or something like that, therootsfund.org. We are accepting donations just as much as we're accepting applications.
There it is.
So yeah.
Perfect. Well, we're gonna make sure that we get a donation in there just for some appreciation for coming on the show. But thank you for coming on. This was dope. This is long overdue. Hopefully you'll come back again. You know what I'm saying? We like when you come to New York, and in all fairness, I was trying to wait for you to come to New York to do this, but quarantine, so we switched the show to Zoom.
I know. Everybody's on Zoom now, huh?
This shit crazy, man. But I like it though because I'm able to speak to so many people that I would like. There's a lot of people I've been waiting until we in the same city, and here we are. You know? Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show. That was another episode of Wine and Hip Hop. Peace, y'all.